Hello, I'm Bruce Zimmerman, and this is the Open Line Garden Show podcast for this week. Now, a lot of plants can be utilized for more than one season, but it means you're going to have to do some work to get them to rebloom, let's say. A lot of people will go and they will bring in plants such as geraniums. So let's start with geraniums because they're probably the most common. And geraniums, what you do is you pick the best of the geranium plants that you've got and you pot them up. Now, I usually leave them for a little while outside so that they're in higher light so they can recover. But if you're going to get a chance of frost or very cold temperatures, you may want to give them some protection at least through the night. Now, what you do is with geraniums, I will remove the flowers and the flower buds because I don't really want them to continue to flower. I want them, in this case, to grow and root. And so this is what you'll do. And then once they're ready to go, you can bring them in and grow them as houseplants in a sunny, cool location. Now, cool is the key here. You want to keep them moist but not wet, no standing water, and you want as bright a window as possible. What will happen is the plant will continue to grow. And yes, you will lose a lot of leaves yellow, usually the older ones. But once it's sort of established in the house, a little bit of plant food may be necessary just to keep them active. You don't want to overdo it with fertilizer because you do not want long, leggy growth, which the low light in winter can encourage, and fertilizing it won't make it better. It'll only make it longer. So you want to sort of walk that fine line between too much and too little. Now, once you've done that, there are other ways of doing it. Now, the other plants in the garden, in the geraniums, you can go and you can try this method. When you lift them, you shake all the dirt off and you hang them upside down in a dark place. And what happens is all the energy goes to the tips. Now, come about January, you will cut off all the green tips and you will root them. Now, this usually means a number one rooting hormone. And then you get them rooted, you get them under lights, you get them growing. I would probably prefer under lights as opposed to a sunny window, but both will work. Now, you want to try and prevent them from being leggy, so keep the temperatures down. Don't overwater. You'll get a lot of black leg and other diseases and root rot, or they may not root at all. And if you use too much of the rooting hormone or too strong a rooting hormone, what will happen is they will callus and never actually break out into roots. So it's important that you don't use too much of that either. Now, once you've got them started up and growing, you'll now have a whole bunch of young plants that were successful and, of course, the right color in your garden. This assures you of the variety that you really like year after year, and it can be done year after year. There is another method that is done, and it is similar to the last method, and that is you go and you shake all the dirt off your geraniums. You can remove the flowers, and you roll them individually in newspapers. Now, this is usually quite a thick, plain newspaper, not colored sections, and roll them, sort of seal them up, and then put them into a cool, dark place. And come January, you go and you look and you see what you've got. But then what very often happens here is these plants are just repotted. In other words, you use the whole plant, including the old root system, and you see what comes along, and then you may have to cut back to where it does actually break leaf. Now, all these methods work. Some work better than others, and you're going to have to see which works best for you and your variety of geranium. Now, is it going to be a really good method in all cases? No. So you do have to try. And very often, the seasons will change and you'll have to change your method and you'll have to learn to do that. I think that's called gardening. If you're doing some of the regal geraniums, my suggestion to you is this. They are a little more difficult to winter, but they are better to winter as mother plants, even though you are going to lose a lot of older leaves and you're going to pick them off yellow, etc. You'll find that that's probably the better way with the regal geraniums. If you're going to color up a poinsettia again, you go and you take a plant that is potted and you've been growing it along, and you may have been giving it a light cutting back to sort of shape and keep it, within bounds all through the summer months. But you want to make sure that it's ready to go. Now, to color it up, you need long nights, short days. And it is as simple as that. So you're going to look after this plant as a house plant, which means that during the daytime, you want it in the south window where it's very bright. You want to keep it just moist. But every night at 5 o'clock when you first arrive home or etc., you go and you put it into a dark closet where there is no light. You cannot open the closet door during the night. Otherwise, it starts again. And, of course, that means that it's going to color up late. So, you do that each day. Out during the day, into the closet at night, and in the dark. Never even opening the closet for even 1 second, okay? Because it will trigger a new day, and that's exactly what you don't want. That's a short night and a long day. That's the way the plant will interpret it. So, to make it work, it goes in there through the night from 5 o'clock on, and then just before you're ready to go to work, etc., you want to put it out into the light. So the darkness is longer than the light, and it will color up, and all the colored bracts at the end of each branch will color to whatever color the poinsettia is, whether it's an orange, a yellow, a white, a pink, a red, or the plums, etc., and many other colors. You will keep that color, and it will color up in time for Christmas. Now, you need about 8 to 10 weeks to do that. And that usually means that you're going to be initiating it sometime in October in order to make sure that it's colored up well. Once it's colored up well in the dark in the cupboard, then you can leave it out. That's it. You're done. But you do want to make sure that it is well colored, and then otherwise what will happen is new growth may occur, and you actually have new green bracts in the center over the colored bracts. Doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. So you want to do that as well. With them, make sure, of course, remember what I said, long nights, short days. And it has to be 14 hours of uninterrupted darkness, followed by 10 hours of the best bright light you can do. And that will work. And it can never be broken. Remember that. No interrupted day. In other words, uninterrupted darkness is critical to the coloring up of poinsettias. With kalanchoes, they're always cool. People grow these, and they often are now being used out in the garden, and they give you great color throughout the season. They seem to be blooming and blooming and blooming. They come in such great hot colors, whether it's yellows and pinks and reds and white, and also you get a lot that are in the more of the hot pink and hot orange and, the cayennes, etc. So there's a lot of good plant colors out there for you to go and blend into your garden. And they're a succulent, so they're really quite easy to look after. Keep them moist, give them decent soil, and bloom they will do. But remember, full sun. If you're going to go and redo these ones, you want to pot them up again before frost. And it needs, again, the same as poinsettias. Long nights, short days. So 14 hours of continual darkness followed by 10 hours of light. And that will give you your flower bud set up. You have to do that for 6 weeks. Now you can do this at any time as long as you give those conditions. So you can get multiple blooming on plants that are just in your house as opposed to the ones going out into the garden. But once it's set up, they continue to grow. And what happens in most cases, the flowers occur about 6 weeks after you finish your treatment. At least that. But it has been known on some varieties to take up to 3 to 4 months after the treatment for the flowers to actually come out and give you color. So you'll have to find out how many weeks there are depending on the varieties, but plan on 3 to 4 months, and that way you'll have color going out into your garden, and of course year after year color and good plants getting bigger, better, nicer in your garden year after year that you never had to pay for only once. I like that. That's my favorite part about redoing poinsettias and kalanchoes and other plants as well. I'm Bruce Zimmerman, and this has been the Open Line Garden Show podcast for this week.